Welcome to week 21 of our SAT vocabulary study. After this week, there will be 3 more weeks of vocabulary study. So we'll go through week 24. This means that there will be 2 more quizzes and then there will be 1 exam. The exam will cover all of the words that we've had since the last exam, and that exam will take place after our state testing in the middle of May. This week, all of our words are adjectives, and because I have more words than we have weeks remaining, we will have 6 words this week, as we will for the remainder of the year. So the note-taking sheet that I've given to you includes spaces for 6 words. Finally, there will be homework at the end of this video, so please make sure that you don't stop at the last word, that you continue on and take note of what the homework assignment is. Our first word this week is inevitable. And something that is inevitable is a certainty. It's bound to happen, unavoidable. If you start a food fight in the cafeteria, it's inevitable that you will get into trouble. If you are going too fast down the highway and you come up upon a car in front of you and fail to put on your brakes, it's inevitable that you will crash into them. So, think of anything that's bound to happen, it's unavoidable, and it is inevitable. Notice the forms here. You can change it into a noun or add an ly, drop the e, add an y actually, and turn it into an adverb. Remember that adjectives, which these words all are this week, will modify nouns or pronouns actually. Here we have Harry. Because of his impeccable taste in clothing and his confident swagger, it was inevitable that Harry would someday be a cover model for Hamster GQ. So it was bound to happen, unavoidable. Next, our word is aesthetic. And anything that is aesthetic is something that would pertain to beauty or the arts or the appreciation of beauty or the arts. For example, you might say that something is aesthetically pleasing. Now, in this case, I used an adverb, and that means that it's pleasing to the eye because of its beauty. Aesthetic is a word that we don't use frequently in our speaking, but you will run across it in your reading. So it's something that I wanted to be sure to include before you pass on to high school. So here's a sentence using aesthetic. To add an aesthetic quality to her dance recital, Rhonda dressed her baby rat dancers in pink tutus. So she wanted to enhance the beauty of her dancers, and therefore she added the pink tutus. So aesthetic is something that you'd probably hear in art class or some sort of liberal arts class or something along that lines. Aesthetic. Our next word is precocious, and it's possible that some of you, when you were little, were referred to as precocious. And someone who is precocious is unusually advanced or mature at an early age. So generally when we discuss the word or when we use the word precocious, we're referring to a child. Notice that you can add an ly for an adverb and a ness for a noun. By the time he was 3, precocious little Freddie figured out how to hitch a ride to town in Farmer Joe's back pocket. So little Freddie was unusually advanced, therefore he was precocious. Sometimes this word is used to describe young actresses or actors, gifted children, children who are geniuses, and children who are just very worldly and figure things out at an early age. Our next word is resilient. And someone who is resilient recovers quickly, bounces back quickly from some sort of adversity. Let's say, for example, you have an injury. You're a track star and hurt your knee, and you work really hard to come back and be able to compete. You're considered resilient. And this could be a one-time deal, or it can be a constant thing. You're always bouncing back despite the adversities that you face. Belinda and Bertha Beluga proved that they were resilient when they performed for the annual Whale Christmas show, despite the fact that they both had terrible colds. So the adversity was that they had colds, but they bounced back and performed anyway. And they are very cute. Our next word is intrepid. And someone who is intrepid is fearless or adventurous. They do perhaps daring things, and they're always off on some sort of adventure. People who travel to exotic places are sometimes called intrepid travelers. The intrepid Henrietta ignored the warnings about hedgehog zombies and set out to rescue her grandma. So, despite the fact that she faced danger, she went out anyway, and therefore she was fearless, adventurous, intrepid. Our next word is meticulous, and actually, this is our last word. Meticulous. Someone who is meticulous is extremely careful with all of the details of any task that they undertake. They're very precise, they're very thorough. But being meticulous is a very good thing to be. That they make sure that everything is done correctly and done thoroughly. The Barker sisters were always very meticulous about how they dressed. Fancy and rather expensive clothes. Okay, I fixed that sentence there. The Barker sisters were always very meticulous about how they dressed, and thus wore fancy and rather expensive clothes. So that makes a little bit more sense. I'm not sure what I was doing with the dash there, but there you go. Our 6 words for the week. Stay tuned. The vocabulary homework is on the next slide. So in order to practice using these adjectives, I'm going to have you write 6 showing sentences. So for each vocabulary word, I'd like for you to create a sentence. And the showing part is that it contains the word, vocabulary word, and 3 action verbs. And I want you to underline those action verbs so I know you know what a verb is. It's an action. Be sure that each sentence provides context clues that would help a reader. If they didn't know what that word meant and picked up the sentence, they would have a pretty good guess at the definition. I'd like for you to put a box around the vocabulary word. And for 3 of the 6 sentences, your choice, provide some sort of visual. A little clip art, a drawing, a little sticker, magazine cutout, whatever you want to put on there. And of course, make sure that that little visual connects to what's going on in the sentence. So 6 sentences. Each sentence has 3 underlined action verbs. That's the part that causes you or is forcing you to show rather than tell. Make sure you provide context clues of some sort so your reader can guess what the meaning is. And box the vocabulary word into 3 visuals. I will give you an example on the next slide. So a word that we won't have this year, but I'll go ahead and include it here, tumult. It is a loud, confused noise, especially coming from a mass of people. And so the sentence here, the tumult began with that single grape that soared through the air and plunked in my enemy's soup. So I have the 3 action verbs underlined, and then tumult, which is boxed, the vocabulary word itself, and then a visual there of a little food fight that's beginning. So there you go. Good luck with your sentences, and this will be due on Wednesday. Have a good evening.